reality. Now, a lot of people understand about the law of attraction, or they're aware of the law of attraction, but sometimes it doesn't always go the way that we want. We're always manifesting something. Often it's what we don't want instead of what we do want. So today we're going to unpack that a little bit. We're going to talk about how you can start to manifesting more of what you do want on purpose. And I'm joined today by three beautiful ladies who have got lots of experience amongst them all. So I'm going to I'll let you all introduce yourselves. So let's start with you, Emma. Welcome to our Wisdom Circle. Can you tell us just a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. My name is Emma Lyons, and I specialize in helping women release the voice of shame that's been holding them hostage all their life. And I've noticed that it's not just an inner critic for so many people, it's more like an internalized narcissist. And this is what really kept me stuck and spinning my wheels for years. So detaching from that and detaching from the shame is really what helped skyrocket my manifesting and also the people that I work with. So I'm excited to talk about this today because shame is the number one thing I believe that stops people from manifesting what they want.
It definitely is. And I think a lot of women watching this will absolutely resonate with that, with the shame. There's so much shame just in regardless of how your childhood was, even society puts shame on women for so many different things. You should be a mother, you shouldn't be a mother, you should work, you shouldn't work. There's so much things that we're made to feel shame about. So I love that that's your expertise, and we'll dive a little bit more into that shortly. Emma, thank you. Laura, introduce yourself to us.
Yeah, so my name is Laura, and I help people quit unwanted habits. The ones that I specialize in are body-focused repetitive behaviors like hair pulling, skin picking, nail biting, but really my approach can work for any behavior that someone says, "Why can't I stop doing this?" And I'm excited to talk about the, manifestation today because I know that it's something that is relatively new to me over the past year or two, but something that I found a lot of power in, and I get excited talking to other people about how to do this. So I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. It's wonderful to have you here. And that's a
Yeah.
great expertise that you have, because I can imagine there's a lot of people
Mhm.
watching who do have
Mhm.
a lot of habits that they have tried to break in the past. But yeah, you get stuck, and there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot underlying all of that. So we will dig a little bit deeper into that, and then how it links to manifesting what you want.
Mhm.
Because essentially what we want as well is, yes, if there's a bad habit that we've got around eating, we want to eat healthier. And just to clarify too with people, manifestation is everything. It's a thought, it's a feeling, it's a behavior, it's everything. It's not just winning lotto or having a car turn up in your driveway sort of thing. It's everything. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into that as well. So thank you. It's wonderful to have you here, Laura.
Thank you.
And Natasha.
Hi. So my name is Natasha Sharma. I have a nom de plume, which is NS Shakti, under which I am an author, a speaker, and a mentor. I specialize in the mind, body, soul connection of physical diseases. Um, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, so I work very closely with the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And in my journey and my experience, I've realized that the connection between manifestation of the conscious mind versus the subconscious mind is what creates our reality. And that's why I am so excited to be here today.
Fantastic. That's a wonderful, I'm looking forward to deep diving into that as well, because I think until you become consciously aware of something, you can't actually change it. So this is a big part of manifesting as well. And I'd just like to open up the floor to all of you. What do you feel is the biggest misconception that people have around manifesting in your own experiences?
Find that people think that what it means is that you can say something and it just happens, right? Which is not really how it works. But I think that people kind of come into it with this um, cynicism, like, well, if I say I'm going to win the lottery today, you gave that example, then, well, that's not going to make me win it. And well, it's like, well, no, it's not, but just saying it isn't manifesting it, right? You have to be in that energy, and believe it's possible.
Absolutely. And I think when The Secret came out, everyone got all excited.
Mm.
The Secret left out a few secrets, I think. And yeah, so
Yeah.
just saying it is not necessarily going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Emma, what's your take on this?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so true what Laura said. It can be really easy for some. And this is why some people who watched The Secret, they had great success, and other people they were stuck regardless of how many times they watched the movie because they had deeper because like you're pulling in two different directions. Part of you wants to win the lottery, for example, and the part of you is like, hell no, it's not safe to go there. I'll be attacked, I'll be killed. Something that you're not conscious of is actually pulling in the opposite direction. And this is the real problem. The secret really was quite superficial and shallow in the way that it dealt with things. It kind of taught that just thinking something, you could think yourself there. And it's not about thinking, it's so much deeper than that.
Exactly, exactly. We give too much credit to our logical thinking brain, I think. And you've both nailed it. It's more than just the thought. It's Laura, you said it's the energy. It's the underlying things, the beliefs, the behaviors, the traumas. And trauma can happen across a lot of different events as well. Trauma doesn't have to be this big extreme thing that we think it can be. Trauma can be, I don't know, you maybe have a near miss in a car accident, you know, that can cause trauma. So it's these underlying things that affect our energy, and it's our energy that is the biggest missing piece of the puzzle when it comes to manifesting. Natasha, what do you think?
So I completely agree with what you all are saying, and we just have to park it very succinctly as the fact that the conscious mind only uses 10% of the bandwidth of the mind. 90% is in the subconscious mind. So the things that Emma and Laura alluded to, and yourself, Helen, in terms of a word or a thought can't manifest, sometimes it does, and often it does. However, when we say we want to win the lottery, it has to match up. So that's coming from the 10% of the brain. And then that has to match up with the 90% of our experiences, our beliefs. So at the core, if we don't really feel that we are worthy or safe to receive that abundance, we will not be able to manifest it. And that is what The Secret left out. This huge piece of the limiting beliefs, the traumas, what we think we're worth or not worth, that is what limits all of manifesting. Whereas this is the ultimate truth that we are manifesting all the time, whether we want to or not. And that comes from the 90%, which is the subconscious mind. And the 10% really is just these almost superficial desires like the lottery or a car or the next job. And sure, we can manifest that perfectly. But then what happens to the rest of our life? What is the reality we have built? What does our own individual matrix look like? And then that becomes our glass box.
I like that you pointed
Absolutely.
out the superficial desires. I think so often that's what people think that manifesting is. It's about kind of asking for those superficial desires. And so I love that how you worded that because it's so true. And it also, you know, it kind of misses the point, right?
Yeah, it definitely goes deeper than people think. And, there's nothing wrong with wanting those things. We need to have a focus. We need to know which direction that we're going in. And I think most of us would have experienced okay, well, I want to manifest a new job. I want this job where blah, blah, blah meets all these criteria. And we get there, but then it's those deep underlying things that we haven't resolved that come to the surface But like Natasha was saying, we're always manifesting stuff, even when we're not consciously aware of it. And most of the time we're not. And we find ourselves in those situations where it's like, well, I thought this was what I wanted, but it's like Groundhog Day. I'm having the same problems that I had at the last job. They come around. So, ladies, what's your take on that? And what can people do about that? Would anyone like to go first?
Well, I can jump in
Well,
there.
oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead, Natasha.
I
I was just gonna say,
was just gonna give an example of from earlier in my life when I wasn't this mature or this experienced, and I manifested my first home, and it was so precise, it was so amazingly delivered. But then I was like, oh, I got this. Now what? Like, what's next? And I actually built this whole thing in my mind that, oh, I have a flat. It's a one-bedroom flat. I'm alone. What am I going to do next? Manifest a two-bedroom place, manifest a bigger car. And I sort of felt in my own sort of like reality that this whole thing was really pointless. And I really felt behind in terms of like self-awareness at that point in time, in the whole sort of nothingness of the whole thing, if
Yeah.
that makes any
We
sense.
want these things because we think it'll make us happy. So we're doing it back to front, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to be happy first, and then everything will flow. Before we get on to that, because I want to deep dive into that, Laura, what did you want to say?
Oh, I was going to bring up there's a good book that I love by Amanda Francis called Rich as Fuck. And I love that in her book, she talks about how we have these energetic set points. And so it's not just that we've got this linear track that goes from here to there when we're growing, but we've got these energetic set points, and the set points kind of move up the track. And so I think sometimes people get confused because they're like, oh, well, this good thing happened. Oh, and then this thing that I didn't want happened. And they think that means that the first thing is negated or it doesn't matter. And I think for me, it was really helpful to visualize that we still have these set points and things are going to happen within that range. And so if there's some back and forth, that doesn't mean that overall we're not growing. And I think that speaks to when you were talking about Groundhog Day and doing the same thing. Sometimes I think that what I see with clients is that because their energetic set point has shifted a little bit and not entirely, they see some of the old patterns still and they get frustrated because they don't see that their set points have shifted. And so that was just speaking to your idea of like, when people feel like they're stuck. I think sometimes it's just that your set points are shifting. They just haven't shifted as far as you would like them to.
That's right. They're not realizing actually how far they've come. Even if it's one
Yes.
step, that's a step
Yes.
forward and comparing. So, and this goes back to what we were sort of talking about in the beginning of the own internal judgments and our belief systems and that sort of thing that stop us sometimes from seeing how far we've come, which is why it's so important that we need to really work on those unconscious patterns. Emma, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, I think it's been covered pretty well, but it's not linear. It's not like a straight line. It's more like a spiral. So this is why we keep kind of coming up to the same patterns again. And depending on how we've grown, we will see progress. But there is a lag behind what how you change things internally and when it shows up in physical reality. Physical reality is much more sticky, I suppose, is one way of saying it. So it's quite malleable, but we've just been told that it's hard work. And I think the main problem that I see is that we're stuck in this kind of struggling mindset. We think that we've got to earn it. We think that we've got to fight to make it happen. And manifesting really isn't like that. And also, I just want to say one more thing here. Also, we live in a very dysfunctional world. So it's not just about our traumas. Where we have collective traumas that affect us. And now in the world, there's so many crazy things happening that affects the human consciousness, including our consciousness. So we're not responsible for it all, but we're responsible for our share and shining our particular light out towards being that example. But it's not always easy when the rest of humanity is somewhere else and we're trying to rise above it. It's difficult. It's challenging. This is a tough class.
Yeah, and this is the thing as well, that it can be difficult. However, we're only ever in control of what we do. And I love that you were talking about the collective humanity. So if we can, in ourselves, work on ourselves and get our light shining, then that's one light will then spread out and out. So I love that we are connected and we can have the impact that we want, but it starts with us. It's don't try and change the world, change your internal world. So that kind of brings me back to what I was saying before. We want the things to be happy, whereas we should be happy first and then get the things. So Natasha, if somebody is watching this and go, well, how do I be happy? If I had the money, if I had the job, if I had the relations, then I would be happy. So from your perspective, how do they turn that around? And I'll ask each of you because we've got very different experiences and qualifications within this group, which is so wonderful. So I'd like each of you to talk about with your clients, how do they be happy with what now is and not delay it?
I think it stems from what Emma was alluding to. And ultimately, it is about understanding that we are responsible and assuming 100% responsibility for ourselves, for turning on that light, which means doing the shadow work, which means processing our stories to a point where we can actually let them go. And we no longer have any attachment or any expectations from the world. And anything that shows up in the world, we understand that it's a reflection of the journey that we are on within ourselves. That 100% responsibility ends up bringing an authenticity to our lives as we show up vulnerable. That has been the keystone in my journey. Just really letting it all go, all the expectations, all the beliefs, all the stories, and just being here in the present moment. I mean, I see behind Laura, there is be present, and that's what it is. Be present in the moment. Forget the past. Don't think about the future. Just be here in the present on your breath. And when you are just being, then infinite abundance just opens up like magic. We don't have to sit and have a list of things we want to manifest or a vision board. The universe delivers way better than we can ever imagine. And that is my personal experience. And while I've been here on Sacred You for the last 2 years, or I think it's more than 2 years now, timelines are collapsing. Everyone here who has been witness to my journey will see how I went from being reduced to almost nothing financially during the pandemic and where I am now and my life. And I show up glowing and sparkling, and everyone thinks, oh, it's okay for her, isn't it? And I honestly do not focus on sharing my trauma journey because that just brings my energy down. So I'm just here in the present moment, shining my light. And what you said, Helen, that is my mantra, which again proves that we are all one. And in the breath, in the feelings, and in the experience, we're just unique manifestations of consciousness. And other than that, we're just all one.
Yeah, we are all connected, and everyone knows about the law of attraction. They don't know that there are 12 other laws. Divine oneness is one of them, and the vibration is another one. So how we feel is the level that we're vibrating at, is what we're sending out into the world. And the law of attraction says what you're sending out vibrationally, you have to receive something that matches the vibration. So this is what you're saying, Natasha, when you're, because you're keeping your vibration high, You don't have to have a list of what you want. Things that match that high vibration will come back. And there are so many different experiences and people and situations that match that you can't possibly know what all of them are. And like you said, the universe often will give something that is way more than what you expected because you don't have that
Indeed.
attachment. It's just send something that matches the vibe. It's all about the vibe. There's a movie in Australia called The Castle, and it's my favorite movie in the world because it is just so iconic to Australian people. And there's the guy in that who talks, he's the lawyer. He's not a very good lawyer, but he's in there and he's just saying, it's the vibe. That's it, Your Honor. It's the vibe. And I love it because it is so true for when you're manifesting. I think that's the thing that most people have missed, that it's how you feel, not what you say. Talk is cheap, isn't it? Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Natasha.
Thank you.
Laura, that's okay.
Yeah.
How do people be happy now in your experience?
Yeah. So I encourage people, I do an exercise with clients sometimes where I'll say, what is it that you want? Right. And sometimes this comes out as, an affirmation or a desire or whatever. Right. And then I'll ask them, but do you believe that that is possible for you? And honestly, a lot of times people say, no, I don't. And I'll say, okay, what is the closest thing to that you do believe on your best day? How close do we get to that, right? And then they'll come up with some modified version of it. And I'll encourage them on a regular basis to really feel into that energy of on your best day as it relates to whatever thing that you want. Sit there with that energy, feel that. And you might not always be able to stay in that energy, right? Like if you've got something really crummy that happened, then I don't want people to ignore, those things in their life or not allow themselves the opportunity to process those emotions. But if you're in a space where you get to choose how you would feel on your best day and embody that energy and keep building on that. That's kind of the exercise that I give to people.
Fantastic. And have you found blocks them the most?
I think, the shame, like Emma talked about before, I think that's something that really gets in the way, or not believing that they are worthy enough, especially if people had a lot of negative messages when they were young, that they, always did things wrong or, you know, etc. I think that's what gets in the way is people how they what they believe about themselves, right? And I also bring in a lot of self-compassion to my work because I think a lot of that, shame and those negative things that other people have said to us, um, there just wasn't enough self-compassion or compassion from other people growing up, right? So that's another thing that I tend to pull in. And I think that lack of compassion for oneself can really get in the way of manifesting somebody's desires.
Absolutely. And then when you don't manifest what you want, there's another thing that I've done wrong. Or I don't deserve that thing. I didn't get it because
Right.
I deserve it. And
Yeah.
that's not the
It's a
case.
self-fulfilling prophecy. Right?
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
often tell people, make sure that the way that you're talking to yourself is in line with what you want, because how we talk to ourselves matter. We believe what we say to ourselves. And so if we say, I'm never going to get this, or like, I'm not qualified for that job or whatever, if we say that, it's going to be true because we have already decided it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the vibration is lower. That's what we're sending out. So we have to attract the result that matches the vibration of disappointment or whatever it is that you're vibrating at. So, yeah. So you help your clients then to work through those things and then see what happens in your life. So I think this is the perfect segue then into what you do, Emma. So talk to us more about, the blocks that you found that stop your clients. You talked about shame. So talk to me more about that.
Well, yeah, shame is an absolute huge one because we live in a culture, particularly Western cultures, where we have a very special kind of shame. It's individualized shame, this shame that says there's something wrong with me. And what I talk about is that this shame is not natural. All human beings don't have this. This is kind of particular to Western civilization and religion that kind of brought forth this idea that you're a sinner and that you have to forgive. I mean, that is a straitjacket that you can never get yourself out of. And in other cultures, in Eastern cultures, they have different shade of shame. They have shame, but it's more of a cultural honor thing. But this idea of I'm bad, there's something wrong with me is really a foundational perspective that really blocks the manifestations. Because, and this is why you'll see people taking one step forward and two steps back, are really doing the work and really getting involved and not seeing the results. Because, like I think we've shared here, shame is super low frequency, and it's because it's not natural to human beings. And it's so normalized, particularly in Western culture. But just because shame is normalized and it's everywhere, and people shame on social media, people shame their kids, people shame themselves, it doesn't mean that it's natural or normal. It's just normalized in our culture. So we're kind of breathing it in everywhere on social media and we see it everywhere. So the shame is one thing. The other thing that I see really stops people is this neediness or this clinginess, this expectation. So got to make it happen. This kind of trying to fighting energy doesn't work because we're not trusting. So I see a lot of people, and I really help people with this kind of surrendering and not being attached to the outcome. Because the times that I've manifested extraordinary things, I didn't allow myself to go to the scarcity place. And scarcity, again, pretty much everything, all of the things that block us, imposter syndrome, you can trace them back to shame. Scarcity, you could trace back to shame as well. So it's like we're stuck in this kind of scarcity bubble and trying to make something happen, and we have to fight for it, and we're not trusting that we'll be okay without it. And it's got to manifest, it's got to look like that, and we don't realize that we're limiting it. And then we get disappointed afterwards. So and then you just loop around again and again, and that's where this whole stuck thing comes from. And it comes from what the way we were taught as children, what we imprinted. If we were imprinted that this is the way life is disappointment, life is hard, you're a bad person. Even if nobody says that to you, that's kind of in the oxygen that we're breathing here. You're going to bring that into your adulthood and into your manifestations moving forward, and we gotta work through that or release that so that we just trust life, that life is looking after us. And that's not always easy because there's plenty of evidence out there to the contrary, but we don't know what kind of positive things can come through the bad, through the darkness. Through the darkness, we reach the light, and this is the journey that we're all on. So instead of kind of making it bad or making it wrong, we just, like we've been talking about here, open ourselves up to shine brighter. And that comes from releasing the shame and releasing this kind of forceful neediness and expectation to make it happen, and then the disappointment. So letting go of all that, just trusting life. I feel like being in a community with people really accelerates this process as well, because when we're in shame, we want to isolate, we want to be quiet, don't want to tell anyone. So being in a group with other supportive women is so important, because so many women out there, we're like crabs in a bucket. You see them, we're shaming each other like crabs in a bucket, trying to pull them down. Oh my God, you've got a big nose, you've got too many wrinkles, too much cellulite, you're too fat, you're too thin. Women, I'd love to talk about this actually, how women have been given an extra mega dose of shame that men just didn't have, that really adds an extra layer of difficulty for us to really step into our power and our abundance. Sorry, that was quite a long answer, but I had quite a lot to say.
No, that's brilliant. The things that you brought up were really fantastic, and I love that you talked about that community support as well. I was talking to a lady yesterday who was on the same sort of wavelength as that. You need people around you, but be very deliberate in who you put around you as well, because everything is that self-perpetuating. If you are, what's that saying? If you want to, you can't soar with the eagles if you hang with turkeys, or something like that. I butcher a lot of good quotes. I apologize. But it's the self-perpetuating thing. So if you hang around with people who believe that there's not enough of whatever, usually money, that everything's corrupt, that people are out to get them, life is hard. If you hang with those people, then that's the energy you're staying in. That's what you're going to manifest more of. So sometimes we have to make, as part of the journey, we have to make these decisions and say, is it really good for me to stay with this particular person? Often the people have the same surname as us, so we need to be able to find how to put boundaries in place, So, but this all comes through awareness, and you don't have to know all the answers or how. You just want to know, you just need to be aware that things are not how you want them to be, and make the decision that you want something different. And when you've all mentioned it, when you surrender and allow and trust, which can be hard to do, especially if you've been running these programs that are opposite for your entire life. However, you can do it in baby steps. You don't have to take this giant leap. It's that awareness first, the decision that I do want something different. Each of you ladies have your different ways of doing it. Each way works because you guys are all living proof of it. So there's not a one size fits all. It is what works for you and who you resonate with the most. Gravitate towards that and then allow and see what happens. And Laura, you talked about it. Emma, you talked about it a little bit before as well, about that inner critic, that narcissist, you called it, Emma, the inner narcissist. Laura, you're talking about that self-compassion. So this is where, regardless of what has happened in the past, you and only you are in control of what you think about, what you focus on. So I think just in that is very empowering. If people can just, first of all, grasp that one concept, then they'll go a long way. And if you need help moving forward, reach out to one of these beautiful ladies. Reach out to somebody who is where you want to be, is doing what you want to do in any area of your life. So thank you very much, ladies. I've loved all of your insights. What is something that, because we've talked about, it can go deeper and it can take more work for some, less work for others, depending on your journey, and it doesn't even matter. What matters is that you actually start. So what is one small step that people can take today? So Natasha, what's one thing someone can take away with today and go, right, I can do that now, that will start to make that little shift?
The simplest and the most powerful thing that people can do is start really noticing the thoughts that they have and the words that they use before they come out from their mouths. Initially, it seems like a huge task because there's like a million thoughts a second. Even when you sit down in meditation, there's all this noise. But actually, the breath before the word is a space of infinity. You can, or you speak them, to weigh them, to choose which words to say, because they are spells and they make our reality. They define what we think about ourselves and they define how our reality shapes itself. And that is the foundation, the bricks, if you will, to the wall, or whatever we want to manifest. It's the bricks are the words and the thoughts and the feelings. And so to become very, very vigilant of the words conscious and unconscious, and just be kind to yourself and choose the gentler words, and magic unfolds.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's an incredibly powerful. It sounds very simple to do, but it's incredibly powerful. And like you said, it's going to take you a minute, especially if you've been doing it all your life or you've been hearing it. I love what you were saying too, that it doesn't matter that if whether you speak it out loud or whether you think it, you're still speaking it. Okay. And the words cause us to feel. So someone said to me once, I can't remember who it was, maybe I read it somewhere, that, don't say anything to yourself that you wouldn't say to the person you love the most in the world. And if you can even just take that breath and think, would I say this to this person? And if the answer is no, then do not say it to yourself. And that in itself is going to cause such a big shift in your behaviors and how you feel. And beautiful, beautiful tip, Natasha. I think everyone will be able to take that on board and do it as often as you are aware. And when you slip up and you forget, go, oh, oops. Don't berate yourself. It's just a, oops, that's right. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing this now. Because that awareness is a huge leap forward in itself. So please don't dismiss the little things either, guys. I think we put too much focus on, I'm going to manifest this wonderful, huge thing and people are going to throw a ticker tape parade. It's the tiny things that we do on a regular basis that add up to something big. We don't wake up one day unfit and unhealthy and overweight. It's all those little tiny choices that we've made over the past year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years that got us to where we are today. So it's the same in reverse. So beautiful tip, Natasha. Thank you so much for that. And just, keep going. Keep doing it as often as you can. And when you slip up, recognize it. Give yourself a pat on the back for recognizing it and do different next time. Beautiful. Laura, what's a tip that you can leave the audience with?
My tip would be, well, and I think in addition to the other exercise that I mentioned, but the other suggestion that I have is to begin practicing meditation. And there are many different types of meditation, right? But there really are some that can help elevate your energy, and some that yes, manifestation meditations, those are nice, but also loving kindness, metta meditations. Those are also a really great way to elevate your energy and get into that space of love and compassion. Also, mindfulness meditation. Sometimes I talk to people who have been stuck so long in these negative thoughts that they don't even know how to identify them. It's kind of like and I'm going to butcher this saying now, but about the fish not even knowing that it's in water, right? Sometimes people live in those thoughts so much that they don't even realize that it's there. And so I often encourage meditation as a way just to start noticing what's there and not interacting with it, not following it down the rabbit hole, just noticing, oh, okay, there's another thought and there's another thought. And from that, we can build on it. And I really, and starting with the awareness, I think you were saying that, Natasha, as well, right? Starting with the awareness. And I even encourage people, because so often I talk to people who say, well, I don't have 20 minutes every day to, set aside time for this. I encourage people to start with a minute, start with 30 seconds if a minute feels like too much. It's more important that you show up on a regular basis every day, or if you're doing 30 seconds, I'm going to recommend several times a day. But it's more important that you're showing up to pay attention on a regular basis than how long you're doing it. And so I often encourage people like, hey, can we challenge you to just do 1 minute a day or 1 minute twice a day? And then once that doesn't feel too uncomfortable, then let's bump it up to 2 minutes and let's keep building on that. And I think that building that awareness, and especially those, particular types of meditation that can, elevate our energy, I think that can be really powerful.
So on a side that, no, around the meditation, if someone's watching this and going, well, how can I meditate in a minute? What does that even mean? Because people will have these ideas of what they think meditation is, sitting with your legs twisted up and, with you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like the mudras, the hand,
Mudra,
the
the
hand,
mudra.
the hand.
Yeah, and having complete silence in your mind. That's the perception of meditation, one that I certainly had. And that's like, well, I
Very
can't
commonly,
do,
yeah.
and I can't do that in a minute, and I can't get my mind to quiet. How do I meditate and
Yeah.
actually get benefit? And what is the benefit that I'm actually looking for when I'm meditating?
Yeah. Well, and I love how you brought all that up, because that's often part of my discussion, that many people think that the goal of meditation is to clear their thoughts. And, people who meditate every day for years and years and years can't clear their mind of all thoughts, right? Our minds think, that's what brains do. And so I really encourage people to focus not so much on the, on this idea of clearing your mind, but on noticing. And if you're in particular doing a meditation where your goal is to focus your attention on something rather than a more broad, I'm just seeing what comes up meditation, right? Then the goal is to notice when it has wandered and bring it back. And I tell people it's kind of like doing a rep at the gym, right? Every time you notice that it's wandered, you bring it back, that's a rep. And I kind of liken that to if you went to the gym and you didn't do any reps, well, then what good was it, right? Like you went there for nothing, right? Same with meditation. If your mind truly is entirely blank, there are fewer opportunities for you to notice what's there and bring your attention back. And so I do a bit of discussion around how we're really just noticing. The goal is just to notice. It's not to force, it's not to do anything like that. It's just to notice. And a lot of times people tell me, well, oh, I can't meditate, or I tried and I couldn't do it. And so I'll take a couple seconds and I'll say, okay, tell me what you feel right now. Tell me what you feel in your body, right? And they'll say like, oh, I feel this and I'll feel that. And if they can't, then I'll say something like, do you feel your shirt on your back? Do you feel, the earth underneath you? Those kind of things. And I say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'll say, you just spent 30 seconds focusing your attention on one thing, how you felt. That is essentially what meditation is. And so a lot of times I'll use that kind of practice to show them, even for a short period of time, like you can focus your attention on something. Now let's apply that to more things. So those are some of the tips and strategies that I give to people who say, oh, I can't, or I've tried it before, or well, I'll never be able to clear my mind of all thoughts. And I said, maybe you won't. That's okay. That's not the point.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that you've explained that, because I think there is a lot of misconceptions around what meditation is.
Absolutely.
But yeah, but you've explained that beautifully, and I think everyone will be able to do that at some point. And whether it's a guided meditation and you're focusing on what the person's saying, or if it's that noticing meditation sort of thing, everything is valuable. And it doesn't have to be the same every day. You can switch it up. And this is the thing. We don't have to be rigid in at 7 a.m. I'm going to sit down for 10 minutes and don't be so rigid at some point. And we can all take 5 minutes here and there just to focus on something.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much, Laura. Appreciate that. Emma, what's something that the audience can take away today? One small thing they can do that's going to help shift.
Well, I think what Natasha and Laura have shared are really good, brilliant. I think they're great ideas. And so I have a great segue from what Laura was talking about. She was talking about awareness being key, and I think that's really important. But then you need to go a step beyond it, because it's not, if you're identified, as I've seen lots of people, you're identified as someone who doesn't deserve, or someone who can't have, or someone who struggles. You've got to disidentify from that thing, disidentify from what people call the inner critic that's just trying to tear you down and tell you that you're no good and that you can't have what you want. You've got to recognize that that voice, it doesn't carry you. Biggest lie that we're told is that voice is trying to care for you, that it's trying to keep you safe. It's not. It's trying to kill you. It's trying to keep you small. It's trying to keep you controlled. It's not trying to protect you. But we're kind of gaslit by society telling us, oh, it's trying to keep us safe. Oh, the poor thing. Send love to it. No, you don't send love to a parasite. You break up with the parasite. So my tip is you've got to recognize that that thing is not you. It's not looking after you, and say no to it. Do not engage, just like with the narcissist out there. You don't try to argue with them. You don't make it personal. You just say, goodbye. Not today, Satan. Try again tomorrow. You've got to, that's the best way to deal with it, because every time you engage or you try to fight with it or you perform for it, you just give it more energy, more strength. Narcissistic supply, it's called externally, but it's exactly the same internally. That inner voice, that inner critic, it ticks all the boxes for narcissism: gaslighting, love bombing, shaming. It's the exact same MO, and it's not you. It's not looking after you. Say no to it. Break up with that voice.
Beautiful. I love it. Break up with it, because that's exactly right. You don't want to spend time with it, but you are the one who can either focus on it or not focus on it. And that awareness, I think you've all said it, the awareness is the key thing. So lovely. Thank you so much, ladies. What I would add to what you've all said, and I love all of those tips. And the beautiful thing is that everyone can take one or all of them and do them throughout their day. They can mix it up. There's 3 fantastic tips there. So thank you very much for sharing that. And just expanding on what you were saying there as well, Emma, when you say no to that voice, shift your focus to something that makes you happy, because you've got the power to do that. We can be happy now in every single moment that we have. Even if there's something going on, if you've got an interaction with, I don't know, maybe you're at work and you've just had an interaction with someone either face to face or over the phone or over an email, doesn't even matter. You get to choose how much of that interaction you then take into your now and into your future. And this is where you can be happy now. You can stop thinking about them. Stop ruminating. Oh, I should have said this, and if this had happened, if they said that, and I should have, we're all in hindsight, we've got all the answers, don't we? But the more we keep bringing it into our now, that person's gone. They're doing whatever they're doing. They've got on with life. They're probably not even thinking about you. But we keep them active in our now, which lowers our vibration, because we start feeling angry, frustrated, hurt, shame, guilt, all the beautiful words. So if we can then just break up with that person, break up with that thought, just stop it and shift it to something else that you love. Even if you need to think about your dog or something that makes you smile, you're shifting your focus, you're immediately changing your vibration, and you can be happy in every moment if you want to. Don't ignore what happens. Don't accept, don't roll over. You've got to have your boundaries. You've got to do that deeper work if these are patterns and things. One thing you can do right now, though, is start to shift things around. All right. So thank you all so much. Is there anything, I'll open the floor up, and if there's something you want to say, just give me a little wave or take yourself off mute. Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with?
Yeah, something
Laura.
that I'd love to share 3 examples of manifestation that kind of fall into those different categories. You mentioned at the beginning that it's not always manifesting these, positive things, the lottery, right? And so I just want to share 3 examples of something I manifested that was negative, something that was neutral and positive, and I'll make it quick. But I got these pants. There were these beautiful white pants with this black print on them. Loved them. They were amazing. They were over $100. I had never spent $100 before in my life. And I was like, oh my God, can I spend this much money on pants? But I love these pants. Went ahead and bought them. The first time I wore them, I got cherry juice on them. And I realized afterwards it was because I didn't believe that I was worth pants that were more than $100, right? And so I manifested, I got most of it out, but I manifested this cherry juice on my pants because I didn't believe it, right? So that's my manifesting, negative things. Neutral things. This is right around the time that I read that book that I had talked about. And we were on vacation while I was reading it. And I was manifesting, more income because that's kind of, part of the book. And when we got home, I got a check in the mail for a couple $1,000s. And I was like, oh my gosh, I manifested the money. Oh my gosh, right? And it was from our car insurance company. And my husband's like, oh, yeah, I don't know why they sent it because we actually owe that. And so, it was basically they sent us this check. I got excited because we had it, but it was honestly neutral because we had to send it back. Right. And I felt like that was also a good example of manifesting. Right. I put all this work into manifesting this money and it came, but I wasn't really ready to accept it yet. So I had to send it back. Right. And then the positive example, I put in a proposal to speak at a conference. And that time to manifest this, I spent time around other people who were speaking at this conference, and I did some manifestation meditations, and I reminded myself of all the reasons why I deserved to be there, and I got accepted to speak at the conference. So I just wanted to give some examples of how it really can be like a negative, neutral, or positive. And like you said in the beginning, we manifest everything. It's not just the lottery. It is everything.
Absolutely. I love those examples. Thank you so much for sharing. Emma, yeah.
I can say something about that. I love the way what Laura was positive and negative and neutral. But also, I want to just open people's minds a little bit. Sometimes the negative things, there may be something good to come out of it. I broke my leg. It forced me to reflect and realize lots of things. And, the particular place that I broke the leg is supposed to mean something that was quite significant for me. So, overall, it was a very difficult time, but it really helped me push forward and brought things to the fore that I wasn't fully aware of and addressing. So just because something bad happens doesn't mean that it's all 100% bad. Something very bright and good could come out of it. So don't discount that. And when we get disappointed, we shut ourselves off from seeing that. So that's just one thing that I would add. And yeah, like you've been sharing, Helen, we're manifesting everything. And we can change what we're manifesting if we choose to, but we've got to release all of the hangers on, the negative belief systems, the complex trauma things that are keeping us stuck, circling the drain where we are. If we want to move up, we've got to release our triggers, and that's one thing that I wanted to say as well. When you get triggered, and maybe you project or get angry, like think about what that means. What does that trigger for you? Recognize where it comes from and release that trigger, because you can really use your triggers as a resource to help you grow and expand. So everything kind of becomes a gift. And even the bad things that trigger you, you can be like, wow, thank you. I've expanded from that interaction.
Brilliant.
Emma, I want to add to
Brilliant.
that real quick. Can I add just a
Yeah,
tiny thing?
absolutely.
Emma, I love how
Yes.
you said that, because I often call triggers emotional gold, right? If we can learn to listen to them and learn what it says about us and our beliefs and everything, then we can use that as like emotional gold to really work with those things.
Absolutely. Because everything happens for a reason, and it's about shifting that perspective. You can look at something bad and go, oh, that'd be right. It always happens to me. Or you can look at something bad and go, that's interesting. What needs to change? I love it. Love all those examples. And I had I had a bad thing happen where I didn't feel like there must have been something going on. I wasn't consciously aware of it. Had something that came out of the blue. This person very close in my life expressed something to me that completely blindsided me, and it was like, oh, where did that come from? But instead of going into the whole, what's going on, what have I done, sort of thing, I recognized it as, okay, this is not actually about me. They have said this to me. It's not about me, it's about them. And I let it be, and I didn't I didn't go down that rabbit hole. What have I done? What does this mean? What's going to happen? And go to that deep, dark place. I kept in that fairly neutral, because you can't always get to that joy, but if you can get to neutral or up, perfect. I kept in that neutral sort of thing in what I wanted to happen, and kept, more importantly, the vibration. It allowed that person to have the space, and they came to a realization about themselves, about a behavior, about thoughts and things that were going on about themselves, which was the bigger issue. So this is where, it was not, it was pretty awful. But if you have that different perspective, if you can have that separation, things will play out. And it turned out to be one of those gifts that was mostly for the person, but because we are close, it benefited our relationship as well. So even when things go wrong, they are going right if you allow things to play out and come at that different perspective. Natasha, was there anything that you'd like to add?
I think you all have covered it perfectly, and it just goes back to the piece that I shared before about the self-responsibility. The minute that we assume 100% responsibility for ourselves, for our thoughts, for our feelings, for what's happening to us, then these doors just automatically open. It's easy to identify the triggers, it's easy to do the shadow work, to let that go and to then be in a zone of abundance without expectation or attachments. And then the universe manifests itself through you. And that is infinite.
Yeah, it really is. Thank
It
you
really
again,
is.
ladies. I've loved our conversation, loved everything that you've been able to share with our audience. Sophia, are you there?
I am indeed, Helen, if I can get the tech working. Thank you. This has been an
Well, I'll bring Sophia in now just to wrap everything up. But thank you so much, ladies. Really appreciate your input. And yes, we've loved our conversation. Thank you.
And thank you. This has been an incredible conversation for a Wisdom Circle, all about manifestations. And for everyone who is watching, whether you're watching the live or the replay, do put any comments or questions in the comments. We'd love to hear your feedback, and click on the links below to reach out to all these incredible women who have just given up an hour of their time to share their wisdom and their passion on all things manifestation. And I love it. I'm certainly going to be watching the replay again. And I really just want to honor Helen for facilitating a wonderful wisdom circle, and to honor and thank Laura and Emma and Natasha for coming. I know it's all different hours. We're all over the world today, and especially Natasha, it's probably now 3:30 in the morning. So thank you ever so much for joining. And looking forward to the next one, which our beautiful Laura is facilitating. And for everyone else who is watching, check us out at Sacred You. It's very simple. It's Sacred You, letter U, .love. And come and join us for free, /join free. Come and join our village. We do all sorts of things live in our village. But just check us out and come and join our next Wisdom Circle. Thank you ever so much. Truly, I have loved this. It's been great.
You're very welcome. Thank